And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the picture why these three, because there are some characteristics that they have in common. So the first thing is that they're all smaller, particularly Green Brick Partners. It's the smallest of the three. LGI Homes is one of the 10 largest home builders in the US, but it's on the smaller end. And then you have LGI Homes. The thing that I like about all three of these as a particular characteristic is where they sit in the home builder space. All three are largely focused on entry-level starter properties. And there's massive demand. We're basically, actually guys, I just tweeted this out before the show today. Like if you look at the metrics, we're dealing with gigantic undersupply of existing homes for sale. Like the number right now is about half where a healthy market is for existing homes for sale. And we're coming off basically a decade of underbuilding new homes. At the same time, millennials are moving into buying homes like in lockstep. It's a massive generational shift. A few years older than most generations do it because of, coming of age out of the global financial crisis. So these three builders in particular are very focused on building entry-level housings, particularly in the Southeast, the Sun Belt. They all kind of operate there. As a matter of fact, Green Brick and Meritage partnered on one large, I think it's like a 400 property development that they've actually partnered to build out together. So just to kind of quote some recent numbers, just to talk about where things are. Last report, so through March 31st for Meritage, home closing increased 25% year over year. LGI Homes reported, what was it, in April? I think they reported, so for the end of the prior period, they reported home closings were up around 50%. And then in May, like the day after they reported the prior quarter earnings, they reported home closings growth of 57%. So there is this rapid acceleration of not just sales, but also closings that continues to accelerate. And there's just this massive amount of pin-up demand. I like these three. I am going to share a chart because I do want to talk a little bit about, just briefly, the risks that you have to think about and why my guess, and this probably has something to do with why my friends here may have rated them a little bit lower. And that's home builders are pretty leveraged generally, right? Generally. So I'm showing debt to equity and then debt to assets, right? So you look at the higher leveraged ones on the top end, you have companies like Toll Brothers, Lennar, and Meritage Homes is up here. And then you've got, I'm looking for right now, LGI and Green Brick. LGI is actually one of the lower debt to equity, and then Green Brick right here. So you see these leverage ratios as compared to like NVR, which we'll talk about later in the show. Its leverage ratios are very, very low. And I think that's one of the things you'll see when we get closer to the other end of the rankings. Then you look at debt to assets. Again, the same thing you see kind of in the middle of the pack, but these are high debt to asset ratios in general. I'm going to just tease everybody when we do talk about NVR later. You see NVR looks like it has one of the highest debt to assets ratios, but it also has a killer app in terms of its balance sheet that makes that not something to worry about. But they're higher leverage businesses. I don't particularly see that as a massive risk right now, which is why I rated them higher, but it is a risk that investors certainly have to be really conscious of when you think about home builders.